I had a comment on a YouTube video, and I don't really check those comments very often, and I don't see a notification of them all the time. But they were asking about a 5-part 2-bight knot and a 7-part 2-bight knot, and about the number of wraps or number of crossings. And it got me thinking about 2-bight knots. And this is a page out of my Introduction to Turk's Head Knot book. And it shows, I don't get into the math a lot, but it shows a formula that George Shackey has, and its parts are equal to the N value times bights plus the R value, which is the remainder. And so that would give you, with a 2-bight knot, and we are talking about enlargement process number 1 only. So the R is a 1, and we're talking about 2-bight knots, so the B is a 2. So the only variable here that's going to change is the N. And in a 3-part knot, the N is a 1. So you have 1 times 2 plus 1 equals 3. Okay, with that knot, whatever the N is, that's the number of overs or crossings you have on your second half cycle. Now, in my drawings, I would call that a one wrap knot, just to kind of go along with the N equals 1. But a wrap has got a lot of interpretation. So, with the N equals 1, it's got 1 crossing going back on the second half cycle. So you come around your mandrel and you cross 1 time. And if we're going to build the pattern and lay the string right where it's going to be in a finished knot, you would cross right there. And your bight would be on the opposite side. If this is if N is an odd number like 1 or 3 or 5, whatever, your bight is on the back. But so we go over 1, then we're going to go over 1, and then you go under over 1 time. So it's under and over. And we come back to our standing end, and we come up under to finish our knot. We have tied a 3-part 1, 2, 3 2-bight knot. And N equaled 1, so we went over 1 time, and we did an under over 1 time. Okay. Now I want to show you, if N equals 2, we have 2 times 2, which would be 4, plus 1 is 5 parts. Okay, but we're not so worried about the math part, as N equals 2, so we're going to go over 2 times on our second half cycle. So whether you want to call that 1 bight or 1 wrap or 2 wraps. Now in my drawings, I always went 2 wraps so that I could just go over 2 straight back, just like in that drawing. But if you do that, your knot has a kind of a twist. So we are going to tie it to where the strand is where it is in the finished knot. So if this is an even number, if 2's even, our cross is straight across from the cross on our standing end. So we're going to have a cross up here. That's going to be, excuse me, this is even, so here we're going to have a bight right there, and our cross is in the back and then up here. for our over 2. So let's do that again. So we go around the mandrel, and we're going to have a bight up here, a cross in the back, and a cross in the front. That is our 2 crosses. Whether you call that a wrap or, because I guess it'd be 1 wrap. Now we're going to go over 2. So we got an over right there, and an over up here at the top, and now we do our under over 2 times. Under over, we come right along here, under over, and then we come back to our standing end and go under there. That finishes our knot. So we have a cross here and a bight there. Okay, now where this is a 2 bight knot and n was 2, it's 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. So this is a 5-part knot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we went to a 4 bight knot, it'd be 2 times 4, which would be 8, and 1 more would be 9. So it'd be a 9-part knot. If we went to a 6, 2 times 6 is 12, 1 more would be 13. If we went to an 8, it's 2 times 8 is 16, and 1 more is 17. All of those knots are started with this same start. You just build the pattern bigger. Okay, let's go to an n equals 3. Okay, so in my drawings I go 1, 2, 3 and go straight over 3. But you can see these wraps in this straight, you've already started your knot crooked. Okay, so we're going to go around. Now we're going to do 3 overs because n equals 3. So we're going to go over at the front, straight across from our standing end, an over in the back, and an over at our standing end. Now we're doing over 3. So we got an over back here. Okay, let me just turn it so we can see it on the side. Over right there, an over right there, and an over right there. Now we're doing our under over 3 times. So there's under, over, under, over, and under, over. And that brings us back to our standing end. That finishes our knot. And where we did it that way, our knot is quite straight. It's not perfectly straight, but there. And 3 times 2 would be 6. 1 more would be 7. So this is a 7-2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we were going to a 4 bight knot, it'd be 3 times 4 is 12, and 1 more would be a 13. So we'd be a 13-4. If we're going to a 6 bight knot, 3 times 6 is 18, 1 more would be 19. If you were going to an 8 bight knot, it'd be 3 times 8 is 24, 1 more would be 25-part knot. All started with the same start. Okay, now we'll do a 4. N equals 4. Okay, so we're going to go, in my drawings, I would have just went 1, 2, 3, 4, and straight over 4, because that's just quick and dirty. But if you want to lay your strands where they're going to be in the finished knot, you're going to go around and around, and now we're going to go over 4 times. So we got an over, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, There's 4. It's even, so there's a cross here and a bight there. Now we're going to go right along the side of this, because that's where it's going to lay in our finish knot. And there's an over, an over, an over, and an over for our 4 overs. Now we're going to go under over 4 times. There's under over. There's an under over for 2. There's an under over for 3. And there is an under over for 4. And that finishes our knot. So we go right alongside of our standing end and finishes our knot. And where we tied it that way, our knot is fairly straight. We didn't have to do a lot of straightening out. 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 more is 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If we were going to a 4-bight knot, it'd be 4 times 4 is 16, and 1 more would be a 17. So it'd be a 17-4. If we were going to a 6, 4 times 6 is 24, and 1 more would be 25. It'd be a 25-part 6-bight knot. If you were going to 8-bight knot, it'd be 4 times 8 is 32, 1 more would be 33-part 8-bight knot. All started with this same start. So I hope you guys will think about, Shacky was a mathematical engineer, so formulas meant a lot to him. But think about how this math can help you know what start you do to tie to a certain size long knot of a certain number of bites. I hope you'll take a minute and think about it and try this. Thank you for watching.